The first One Chicago crossover in years begins with In the Trenches Part 1 in Chicago Fire, Season 13, Episode 11. As a result, the expectations are extremely high. Audiences always want crossover events to be big, but this one needs to be especially big after all of that excitement. And the original One Chicago series is responsible for laying the groundwork for that. The crossover begins in Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 11. A disastrous incident is necessary for every One Chicago crossover. Otherwise, there would be no point in gathering the entire ensemble and dedicating 3 hours of television to a story. Massive fires, serial criminals, and biological threats have all been crossovers. This one centers on a gas explosion that occurs as a result of robbers trying to hide the theft of a hard drive loaded with Bitcoin from a government building. There are advantages and disadvantages to that story being a little less clear-cut than some of the other crossovers. Compared to a single big bad destroying the city of Chicago, it does, on the one hand, give the plot a more modern feel. However, it complicates the plot somewhat, particularly after the authors include the incident of a subway train becoming stranded beneath. Nate Cordry, who plays Mr. Milken, the executive director of the City Employee Benefits Department, is the sole well-known guest star in the whole production. Viewers will recall Cordry from his roles as Larry Wilson in For All Mankind, or as the frightened father Matthew Dodson in the first season of HBO's Perry Mason. His breakthrough performance, however, was opposite Chicago Med star Steven Weber in Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which is why it's so wonderful to see him as the unfortunate Milken. One of the many opportunities that are lost is the fact that Cordry and Weber are unable to have a major scene together. Chicago Fire misses some adorable pairings while finding others. The goal of these crossover events is to give One Chicago franchise fans the opportunity to witness characters collaborating for longer than a few seconds at a time. Before long, viewers of In the Trenches Part see members of Chicago PD and Chicago Med arrive. Although Dr. John Frost's ride-along with Ambulance 61 isn't entirely plausible, it doesn't really matter because it allows actor Darren Barnett to further highlight Frost's serious side. When one of these crossovers occurs, Taylor Kinney, a regular on the show, always answers the bell, and he does so once more here. The larger moments, however, are portrayed by Dermot Mulroney as Chief Dom Pascal, who advances the plot by directing everyone, including some of their non-employees. Episode 11 of Season 13, Exposition Hamstrings. Although the prospect of another One Chicago crossover is intriguing, it is also undeniably predictable in a number of ways. Longtime watchers will recognize a few story beats in Chicago Fire. The fact that Trudy Platt is one of the primary protagonists whose lives are at jeopardy throughout the event is obviously not shocking. During the two-part crossover between Fire and Chicago PD, which included the latter's 100th episode, Platt was already used in this manner. It's unfortunate that Amy Morton is given this plotline once more, considering how little screen time she already receives on PD. Additionally, viewers are aware that Stella will end up in danger as soon as the episode begins, when she and Severide discuss leaving. It is comparable to the police officer discussing the day before retirement. The through line of Severide worrying about Stella is then evident to fans, and at the conclusion of the crossover, the two have a joyous reunion.